students, welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. My name is Mbithe, and in today's session we are going to learn about verb phrases. We are going to define what a verb phrase is, and we are also going to attempt to identify a verb phrase in different sentences. So before we get into verb phrases, maybe we can start by reminding ourselves what a verb is. And so a verb is a doing word. A verb shows the action, what somebody has done, what something has done or is doing. For example, read, listen, write, sleep, laugh, jump. There are very many examples of verbs. So now that we have reminded ourselves of what a verb is, we can go into verb phrases. So what is a verb phrase? It is the part of a sentence that indicates the action or state. The part of a sentence that indicates the action or the state. Remember, we said that verbs can either be action verbs that show the action of something or stative verbs that show the state of something. So the part of a sentence that shows either the action or the state is what we call a verb phrase. For example, she went home early. The verb in that sentence is went, and it shows the action of going. It shows the action. The toddler is healthy. And in this second sentence, the verb there shows the state of the child. So those are the verb phrases in those two sentences because they're the ones that are showing the action and the state. So when it comes to verb phrases, a verb phrase can contain or consist of only one verb. So you can find a sentence that has only one verb, and that will be the verb phrase. For example, I went home. I am healthy. It is only one verb, so that if you're asked to identify the verb phrase in those two sentences, it will only be the verb went and am. It is also possible to have a sentence that has more than one verb. So that means that it is possible for a verb phrase to have more than one verb. So in a situation where you have more than one verb, the verb that comes as the last one is the main verb, and all the verbs before that are called auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also known as the helping verbs. They help the main verb. For example, a sentence like, Alan is writing a letter. Is writing is our verb phrase. Is an auxiliary verb, and writing is the main verb. And so these auxiliary verbs can help the main verb to indicate various things, and we are going to look at those things or scenarios. And the first one is that they can help the verb to indicate that an action is still going on. So as we speak right now, this action is still going on. For example, Alan is writing a letter. The word is there is used to show us that this action of writing is still going on. She is drinking water. Is also an auxiliary verb, and it is showing us that this action of drinking, which is the main verb, is still going on. Auxiliary verbs can also help to indicate that the action or the main verb, the action has been completed at the time of the speech. So we are going to use the same sentences that we have used in the previous slide. So Alan has written a letter. So as we speak right now, the writing is already over. Alan has already finished writing. So the auxiliary that has helped to indicate that is has. She has drank water. So as we speak, she has already finished drinking water. Auxiliary verbs can be used to indicate the future time or the future tense. For example, Alan will write a letter. So this letter has not been written yet, but in future which could be 10 minutes from now, could be tomorrow, could be next week, the letter will be written. So Alan will write a letter. Will is the auxiliary, write is the main verb. She will drink water. So she has not yet drank any water. Will is the auxiliary, drink is the main verb. And lastly, these auxiliaries can also help to indicate the passive voice. Remember, we learned about the active voice and the passive voice. So these auxiliaries can be used to indicate the passive voice. For example, a letter was written by Alan. This is the passive voice. A letter was written by Alan. Was is the auxiliary. Written is the main verb. Water was drunk by her. Was is the auxiliary. Drunk is the main verb. So as we wind up, it is important to note that we can have a verb phrase that consists of one word, two words, three words, or four words. So one word verb phrases can look like Hassan sang beautifully. The verb phrase there is sang and it is one word. Hassan sang beautifully. Lisa writes clearly. Just one word. We can also have a verb phrase that has two words. For example, Hassan has sung beautifully. Has sung is a verb phrase containing two words, one which is an auxiliary, the other which is the main verb. Or Lisa has written clearly. Has is the auxiliary, written is the main verb. We can also have a verb phrase that consists of three words. We are still going to use the same sentence. Hassan may have sung beautifully. Hassan may have sung beautifully. So we have two auxiliaries here and the main verb. The first auxiliary is may, which is a modal auxiliary. And then have, which is a primary auxiliary. And lastly, sang, which is the main verb. Lastly, we can have a verb phrase that comprises of four words or four verbs. Still using the same sentence, Hassan may have been singing beautifully. So here we have three auxiliaries and the main verb. We have may, which is a modal auxiliary, have, which is a primary auxiliary, been, which is also a primary auxiliary, and lastly, singing, which is the main verb. However, it is important to note that we can't have more than one modal auxiliary in one sentence, but we can have more than one primary auxiliary, like in this sentence. Have and been are both primary auxiliaries. So it is important to note that you can have two primary auxiliaries, but not two modal auxiliaries. So that's it for verb phrases. I hope you have understood and you're now able to construct sentences and identify the verb phrase you're able to construct a sentence that has a verb phrase that consists of one word, two words, or even four words. For further practice, you can have a look at the quiz and attempt it. Fill the gaps below with the appropriate verb phrase using the correct form of the verb in brackets. For example, the first one, it dash heavily. The verb is rain, and here you're required to have a verb phrase that has two words. So you can say, it is raining heavily. So those are the two verbs. It is raining heavily. So you can attempt to have a look at the rest of the quiz and also attempt to just create sentences with all these different verb phrases. Thank you for tuning in and see you in the next session.